Good morning, everyone. I'm Beth O'Connor with MLS and LIBOR, and this is our webinar for new agents showing you how to use Stratus. So I'm really glad you decided to join us. A few things before we actually begin. I wanted to tell you that I am recording this session. So it will be posted on Stratus probably sometime tomorrow. And there are some other recordings that I will show you during the course of this hour. So I really recommend that you sit back and watch what I'm doing, not worry too much about taking a lot of notes, because you will have a chance to go back and I think you'll absorb more that way. If you have questions, I'm not able to hear your voices, but you can type your questions over on the GoToWebinar panel on the right side. You'll see the questions and you just type your question there, and when it comes in, I will check for it. And what I'll do is I'll check, after I finish each segment, I'll check for questions on that topic. At the end, we'll try to leave several minutes for any extra questions that maybe you forgot or didn't realize you had. So welcome again, everyone. And I'm beginning here in lirealtor.com. As new agents, you may or may not know that this is the main website for LIBOR, and it's also your gateway to Stratus. There are lots of agents who kind of bypass this link here. They give themselves a shortcut to the next page, but I think it's really important for you as new agents to periodically check this lirealtor.com website on your way to Stratus. And there's so much great information here, the upcoming courses, your member area is going to have your profile. And also, if you've registered for any classes, you'll be able to see that here. If you've taken CE with LIBOR, you'll be able to see that here. If you take CE at other schools, it won't show here, just the LIBOR classes that you take. But if you have time, just take a look through some of these resources here. One in particular, Documents on Demand, has some great documents all the way from MLS rules to the forms and legal documents, things like that. It's really got some great information. So that was all under the member area. I'll skip over here to chapters and divisions. You should check out your chapter and also investigate these divisions if you have a particular interest. They're very active, they meet regularly, and it allows you to do some networking on a smaller level. We're a very large board. We're the 4th largest board in the country. I'm sure you heard that in your new agent orientation more than once. So your chapters are a great way to get involved. And then you've got some great things, you've got great discounts and things that you can access from the Business Center. So I am recommending lirealtor.com for you to use as your shortcut if you would just star it or somehow create a bookmark. I have one right here in my Chrome browser for LI Realtor. I recommend Chrome. Other browsers work fine for Stratus and LI Realtor, but I just find that for the past year or 2 or even 3, Chrome seems to be the smoothest experience for me anyway. So if you've never tried Chrome, I would recommend it. And, you know, you judge, you decide whether you like it or not. So you want to create yourself a shortcut in Chrome to LI Realtor and then use that as your access to Stratus, okay? You'll always see all kinds of news and upcoming events. I should have scrolled and showed you some of that. The legal section is fabulous. Great information from them. As you begin your career in real estate, you're going to see a lot of issues come up that maybe you're not so familiar with and you don't have you easy access to speak to your broker maybe sometimes, so you can get good information here. There's also a legal helpline if you have questions. Both LIBOR and the New York State Association of Realtors have a legal helpline. So most of you got this information in your new agent orientation, but some of you maybe haven't taken that yet, so I wanted to take a minute to mention. So I'm going to click on Stratus here at the top right of my screen to log in. Everyone should have received their login already. If you don't, you can just click on Forgot Password and put in the email address that you created when you applied to LIBOR, okay? And then you want to click the login. And this will bring us to the news item. I'll close that. This brings us to the info center. We call this the info center, and the link to it at the top here, anytime you want to return, is in your menu. Now, my menu, if you notice, is across the top here, but it can be toggled to the left side by using this. Let me zoom in so you can really see what I'm talking about. This little gray circle here with the triangle in it is a toggle button. You'll see it in lots of different places, in not just Stratus, but on the internet as well, these kinds of toggles. And when I click that toggle, it just moves my menu from the top over to the left side. And you have, some people like this because they can see the specific search, add, edit, update, those, they can keep those menu items opened for Instanet and all of that. But I find that it just takes up a little too much room now that I've been using Stratus and I know exactly where to find things. So you may start out with it here. I believe this is the default. And then as you get better at Stratus, maybe just toggle it back to out of your way. All right, let me zoom out just a little bit. And if at any time you are using the internet and you find that the text is too small for you to read, you're just going to do Control plus and Control minus. That will make your text larger. Just keep in mind though that when you do that, sometimes it will mess up your menu items. So Control 0 will cancel any kind of zoom that you've done. But I don't know about you, that's a little hard for me to see in the normal view. So I always just zoom myself a couple of Control pluses in. So try that out, see how you like it. So you're always going to have this quick search when you log in, which is really handy. We'll cover that. And news items. Take a minute and peruse those. I guess you saw it because you were able to register for this webinar this morning, but great information here. Now, the most important box, I think, when you first log in is today's listings. And if you haven't set it up yet, you're going to see a little message here that tells you and recommends that you go in and set up your market areas. So let me explain what that means. You can use this section to keep updated on the areas around you. Okay, so I'm in Setauket, so I wanted to cover those areas on the North Shore of Suffolk County, but maybe I have a client out in West Hampton or somebody who's looking for rentals. So I'm going to segment my market so that when I log in, I can see what are the newest listings and what are the changes that have just happened. And I can go back more than just one day. If I've been away or whatever, I can go back as many days as 30 days here. First, let's talk about setting it up, and then I'll talk about using it. So if you want to change or set this up for the first time, you're going to go into your settings. This is really an important place for you to check out as a new agent. You've got lots of tabs and information in here that you should peruse and take a look at. I started at the profile. That's the first folder tab here. It has my email. Now let's say that's not the email that I want to use anymore. Some of you didn't have your business email when you applied to LIBOR. So you want to click here and you want to change your email address. It does take 24 hours for the change. So you won't see the new email address showing here for a full day because this is not directly connected to our membership system. So it has to pass through some channels before it gets there. So no, don't panic if you don't see it, just give it a day. You can put in a second salesperson. You can put in a cell phone number, which is really great because if you send your clients some different reports, it'll have your cell phone number right at the bottom. The agent photo tab, I clicked on the second one, is where you're going to upload a photo. If you have not uploaded a photo, you will not receive a lockbox card. The lockbox card from CentriLock is the program that allows you to use lockboxes that are on other listings that are not your listing, and you can get into the house using that card. It has to be updated every 14 days. But once you upload your photo here, it'll automatically trigger the order for your new card. And the cards are mailed to your office. So if you haven't gotten it, if you've been a member for a couple of months and you haven't gotten it, ask in your office first if perhaps it's sitting on someone's desk there. Okay. And if not, then you can call LIBOR and MLS customer service. I'll give you that info at the end. Now, I have a link to Office logo, but you won't have that unless you are the broker of record. Only the broker has the ability to put in the Office logo. Now, here's what I was talking about, market areas. So I grouped mine by towns and also by the type of property. So I put res and condos together here, and I picked a handful of towns. You can pick as many as you want. The easiest way to select your multiple towns is to click on this here, select multiple towns, and just check off the ones that you want, okay? That makes it really, really easy, all right? And just do that. You have up to 6 market areas. I only used 5. I didn't feel the need for the 6th one, but you must have a label in each one. You cannot leave this blank or you just won't know what you're going to be looking at. Okay, so you could see in market area 2, I picked the 2 amities and I just called it client and residential only. So what that does after I hit save is it allows me then from the info center to see what's new and what price changes and contracts and closings have come in since the last time I logged into Stratus. And one of the most important things for you as a realtor is to know what's happening today. You don't want to tell someone about a listing. Maybe you went to a broker open house and you saw a property, it's fabulous, and a buyer calls you and you say, oh, I think I have the perfect house for you, and you start looking into making an appointment to show them that house, only to find out that it's got a contract. And now you're embarrassed and you have to tell that that buyer that you can't take them to the house because they're not showing it. So you want to make sure you're on top of your market. The top agents that I know tell me they check on this maybe 5 to 7 times a day. They just quickly log in and check what are the new contracts, what are the new closings. If somebody put a listing under contract this morning at 10 a.m., I'll know about it. As long as they put it in Stratus, it's immediately here. So it's this today's listings is really, really important. But I just didn't want, I'll show you that in a second. I just didn't want to come out of here without you take a look at these various other options here. In particular, check the send. This is where your default email subject line, your default email message, if you're using prospect search, same thing. And then you want to have your business card here. You want to upload your business card and make sure that that's the one that shows every time you send someone a listing. Very, very important that you identify yourself whenever you send someone a listing. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the info center. Now notice I'm not using the back button. All right, we really want to avoid that. Although the internet has gotten better at that, you still want to just navigate using the options here. So if it's the info center I want, I just click on info center. Right? Now, what we were talking about was this section right here, today's listings, and I'm going to go back a few more days. I'm just going to go back 3 days. Now, see how the numbers changed here? There's 1 new listing in my market, 3 Village, res and condo, and 33 listings have had changes to them. So all I do is I just click on 1 new here, and I can take a look at it. Okay, I go right back to the info center. I do have to do 3 days back again. And now I can take a look at the updated listings. And this is going to tell me if anything has sold or gone under contract. Now, usually what I do right here, just to be really fast, is I click on the header for this column, LSC. That stands for last status change, and it tells me the last thing that happened to this listing. I have put in your handouts a description of all of those abbreviations. If you look in your GoToWebinar panel on the side, you will see a handout section, and one of them is called Last Status Change and Listing Abbreviations. You can download that and print it and keep a copy so you'll know what all of these abbreviations stand for. So what I do is I click on LSC and I sort on that column. So now it's alphabetical, and immediately I can see two sold listings, okay? The sold date of this one was July 3rd, and the sold date for this one was July 2nd, okay? So I went back 3 days. That's why I'm seeing that these are a couple of old ones. They probably went on about 2 or 3 days ago. Okay, so right away I can see what the sold price was, what the listing price was, and this one sold for over list price. This must have been some kind of a bidding war or something like that. And it had been on the market a while. So you're going to get to start to know the addresses and the properties. And then the ones I really usually want to check out are the price changes and the under contracts. So if you see a red arrow, that means the price change is fairly new. It's within the last 14 days. Even though this one is marked a price change, the price change might have been 2 months ago, and the change that they made wasn't substantial enough to give it a new status. So it stayed as a price change. Maybe they updated the taxes or something like that. But of course, you want to know what went into contract, all right? And you're going to see days on market for the under contracts and the sold only. That'll tell you the days on the market, okay? So returning to Info Center, just by clicking on that, that's the importance of this section here. So you have a great advantage. A lot of agents really don't use that section to its best advantage. And I think that you can really set yourself apart by getting good at using it. The other thing down here at the bottom that can be confusing because it's really not the same as this top section. I kind of wish there was a dark line here that would differentiate it. If I click on Go to Update here, it brings me to a different kind of a section where I can look for the new stuff. Maybe I can still go back my 3 days, but maybe I just want to know, did anything expire or did anything sell in the last 3 days or go under, let's do solds and under contracts 3 days back. Okay, and I'm going to just do the town of Massapequa. Maybe I better add a couple of other towns. You can do as many as you part. Notice I just typed MASS. I stopped typing. Pick off the list. Do not torture you. Oops, I already had that. Massapequa, Massapequa Park, and we'll do Massapequa. Just type the first couple of letters and then you can put it on the list there, okay? You can always use this wheel here to pick your towns if you find that to be easier, all right? So I'm gonna go 3 days back for these 3 towns, and I just want under contracts and sold. Now I can submit this and save it for the next time I come back here, but I'm just gonna submit this without saving. It's up to you. This is what we call our update. Back in the day, we didn't have today's listings, that section. So this was the only way agents could find out about new listings. But this is giving me the solds and the under contracts in the last 3 days. And you can tell by looking at the LSC. I thought the LSC was going to be on here. I'm kind of surprised. Oh, I'm sorry. It's right here. Under contracts, 11 went under contract. And then if I go further down, there were no closings. Okay, so it groups them. And when you're in this section, you can link to this ML number, even though it's not a blue hyperlink and there's no hand when you hover over it, you can still click on it and it'll bring up that full listing for that. And then to return back to that report, that update, I just click on return to previous page, okay? This, unfortunately, isn't as flexible and adaptable as some of the other parts of Stratus, so it can be frustrating, but it is a good way for you to quickly peruse the latest and what you need. And a lot of you do expireds to pick up new listings, so you could use this section for your expireds. Just check off expired, put your towns, and usually for expired, you're going to go back probably maybe a couple of weeks to a month. All right, and then you can see what's expired. All right, again, if you've joined us late, I'm recording this session, and if you have questions, just type them into the questions box on the right-hand side, the panel that says go to webinar, because I can't hear your voices. I wish I could, but with a larger group, it's hard to manage that. So So let me know what your questions are. All right, so we're going to go now into searching. Now my plan is to show you how to search in Stratus. Now that we've covered the info center, we're going to talk about searching for listings, and we're going to talk about using the maps to search the listings and how you can put listings into the listing cart. I'll briefly look at adding and editing listings so that you're prepared for that. And and I'm going to show you some other resources where if there's something that I didn't cover that you want covered, you can find that information. Okay, so let's go to the listing section. But first of all, let me slow down and talk about this panel here where you could do a quick search. Now, I've got this kind of set up a little more fancy where um, I cut out some of the fields and I called it fewer fields and I set it as my default. But what you're going to see is what's called the MLS form. And to me, it just had too much stuff. So I kind of customized it using this thing here, this little piece of paper. I customized it. I don't want to get too detailed into that for this session, but it really can be handy if you customize this. But notice you can do res, you can do condo, you can do rentals, you can do land and commercial, available and unavailable, public and private. Now, public is all the listings on MLS, and private is all the listings that are kept at the office, an exclusive listing. Many offices will put their exclusives on Stratus, and the only people that can see them is the other agents in that office. That's what a private listing is. Always best to just leave them both checked, okay? I'm going to do residential. You can see my form changes with each one, and we can put our towns in. Let's do Baldwin. I just type BAL, and we'll do Baldwin Harbor also. And you could put a price. Let's say we want everything under, say, 500,000. I just do three characters there, 500, because the last zeros are right here. Now notice I just put a max. I don't have to put 0 to 500,000. I can just put everything under 5,000. That's what I did here. Okay, my max will be 5,000. 500,000. And then down here on the lower left corner is my count. How many listings does it show right now under 500,000 in those two towns? Is 56. So if I say I want a minimum of 4 bedrooms, let's watch that number change. Do you see how it changed to 20? So that's how you're going to know whether or not, if you have a big 0 here, let's say we wanted a minimum of 20 bedrooms. You see how I have a 0 there? Don't hit submit. Nothing magic is going to happen to fix your mistake there, okay? So if you see a 0, don't hit submit. Just go and look for your error there. You can add other fields here. You can just go to add a field. If somebody was looking for beach rights or cul-de-sac or one of those more obscure fields, then you could find it on the list here. But the ones that you'll find in front of you are the ones that you use the most often. And usually you're in such a big hurry, you don't really necessarily need to put too much more. Now, one thing I do want to mention down here at the bottom, there's 2 options. One is preview and one is save search. The preview is really handy. I'm clicking on that now to tell me how I got to 20 listings. So there were a total of 90 in Baldwin and Baldwin Harbor. There were 56 under 500,000 and only 20 of them had at least 4 bedrooms. Okay, this is helpful to diagnose your issue. If you got a 0, click on that preview. Whoops. Click on that preview and let me just get back to my criteria page. Whoops, info center is where I was. And I just cleared out my search. So, but I did want to show you how you can save these searches. Sorry about that. We did 500 was our minimum. And we did a minimum of 4 bedrooms. So what I wanted to show you was the other option down here was to save the search. So I'm going to call it Baldwin, and let's say I'm doing it for specific client, the Jones family. So I'm just going to call it Baldwin Jones. Click Save. And then that's going to show up under my list of saved searches here, right on the front. So I don't ever have to do the the 500,000 and whatever, you can just save your searches and just quickly select it from here and then just hit submit. All right. And you can always clear and delete a search from here as well if you don't need it anymore. So I'm going to submit this search. And this is what we call our list view. All right, and I know it's called the list view because this icon at the top left here says list, and it's a little bit of a darker gray. Watch when I click on this next one over called view. You see how that one's a darker gray color now? So you can always find out where you are by using this action bar. This gray bar that I'm highlighting with my mouse here is probably the most important part and aspect of any page you're on in Stratus. It's got all the most important features. On this side is your print, your email, download, help, all of that, new window, things like that. So try to get used to using these icons to get the information. All right, and if you want to change the view you're on, just toggle back. Right now I'm in a broker full. If I want to return to that list view, I just click on list here. If I want to put those 20 on a map, I click on the globe here, puts all 20 of them on the map. And again, I can just toggle right back to list. It'll keep those 20 listings for me as long as I'm just toggling back and forth in these views. The photos is one of my favorite ones because you can see the front. In most cases, it's going to be the front of the house. It doesn't have to be. But you'll be able to select the listings you're kind of interested in. So maybe you know they don't want a high ranch, but they're looking for something a little more historic. So you could just pick off a couple of properties that you think they'd be interested in. And then when you close that, they've already been selected. Those were the 3 that I checked in the photo view. So that can be really helpful as well. Also, when you're in the photo view, if you click the first picture, it gets any picture, it gets much larger. And this will go through those 3. You can really see a lot in these beautiful high-res photos now that, that Stratus has for us. Now I have those 3 isolated and I want to get rid of the rest of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on narrow here in the action bar. That gets rid of them. But I have now expand if I change my mind. Oh gosh, there was one I forgot. Click expand, they all come back, okay? And if you want to deselect all of the ones you've selected, just do it this way. Click them all, unclick them all. Just use this box at the top to save time. Click, click. This is really helpful too if you only have 2 or 3 that you want to eliminate. Just do it the reverse way. Select them all, deselect what you don't want, and then click narrow, okay? So I'm going to make sure none are selected. The other thing I want to highlight here is great. The statistics, this calculator at the top here will tell you what the median price is. If you're kind of watching the market, you want to see these statistics and see what's going on. This is particularly helpful if you're looking at sold listings. So I'm going to close that. And I just want to review quickly these icons here. The star will put this in your favorites folder. Okay, it's just one single folder that you can put in listings that you kind of want to keep an eye on, but they probably won't be listings for a particular client. It would just be something you want to watch. And when I do that with the yellow star, they're going to show up here in my favorite listings under my lists. Okay. The other thing you have is this little shopping cart, and you can have multiple shopping carts. So remember, my buyer's name is Jones. So I'm going to select a few that I'm going to put in the Jones cart, but I don't have a cart yet for the Jones. So I'm going to create a new one, and I'm going to call it Jones Baldwin because I might have several carts for them. Create the cart, and now I'm going to select it and put that one listing in there. Now I can actually put multiple listings into the Jones cart by selecting them here and coming up to carts at the top, selecting Jones Baldwin, and you see what it's telling me here, add or remove 3 listings. I'm just going to add them. This is also the way you remove them too, which is a little counterintuitive. Okay, So it's really great once you get the hang of using this, because if you need to print this list for some reason and it's not in any particular order, or it doesn't have the fields that you need, it really can be frustrating. So for example, maybe I want the ML number, which is usually all the way over on the right. Maybe I want it next to the address. So I'm doing a drag and drop it. And I'm going to tell you, most agents don't even know how to do this. People who've been in business for 30, 40 years. Here, let me put it over there. They don't realize that we can do this now. It's kind of a new feature. Now, things like zip code, I might want to get rid of. So I just click on zip, and I'm going to remove that one. I'm going to remove the temporarily off the market, TOM. They're all detached homes, so I'm going to remove that one. But maybe I want the listing agent's name. That would be nice to have, wouldn't it? So I'm going to click on listing broker because I want it to show up right next to this column. And I'm going to go to add a column, and I'm going to find listing agent. Sorry if I'm making you dizzy. I'm going to type the letter L. Oops. Listing agent. You see that? You see how I put the listing agent column right here? So you can get really, really fancy with this if you want. If you want to save it, once you've created a new report that you like, you can actually, sorry, that thing keeps popping up. There we go. This customize is where you would save those. Okay, you can really get fancy in here, but I don't really have enough time in a 1-hour class to go through that. But there's so much more that you can do on this page. Now, if you wanted to print this, you always want to use the Stratus print icon in the action bar here, because if you go up to the top of your browser and you do print there, I'll show you what happens. You're going to get some things you don't want. Actually, this doesn't look that bad, but it did cut off the end of the column, right? Sometimes you get the banner ad and things like that. So what you want is this print button here. Let me show you how much better it looks. So we're going to print the list rows, all 20. Let me just do a preview. This knows to be in landscape, so you don't miss out on the phone number, the broker phone number, things like that. Okay. And remember, I told you you could put your cell phone number at the bottom by going to your settings, so that anytime you wanted to print something and give it to someone, it'll be there. Also, you can email this report. Go to the envelope if you want to email any reports. Type in, always test it yourself first. I like to just see what I'm sending before I actually try them out on other people. And remember, I created this default subject line and this default, but if maybe it's not appropriate for this, maybe this, we're going to go showing options for Saturday, July, I forget, it's July 12th, 13th, I forget. But anyways, so, and I want to send them the list rows here. I'm going to select list rows, which is what we call this report here. Okay, if you're going to send them detail views, you can change this form to a client full, a customer full, I'm sorry, or client full. The only difference between those two is that the client full will show the price history if there's been price changes, and the customer full will not. Okay. There's lots of great reports, but I'm sending this list rows report. So you need to be careful before you hit send. Make sure that you have the correct report that you're sending here. And you will also, with this default here, you will get a copy. You'll get the broker full as well. Or you can uncheck that. In this case, I will, because I'm sending it to myself. And click on send. Okay. Again, if you have questions, just type them in. This is a quiet group. So we're rolling along. All right. So I wanted to just quickly review how you can look for unavailable listings and how you can look for, search on what we call the template. So I'll return to the info center just to get our bearings. And this time I'm going to go to this listings menu, and this is sort of our main search function here, listings and search. You don't need to click on listings, just hover and then click on search here. Okay. So when you go to search, you have new search, you have map search, you have any of your saved searches. Remember, I saved Baldwin Jones. Today is July 9th. There it is. I could take a look at any prospect matches that I've set up in here. These would be searches where you want to set an automatic notification to a client so that if a new listing comes on, they'll find out about it right away. But as new agents, I'm going to recommend that you use Collab instead of this. I think that it has much better functionality, and you can text the new listings. You cannot text listings from this program. Okay, we have something called predefined searches. This is great if you're in a big hurry and you just want to see, let's say, what recently closed or just expired, or maybe open houses coming up. It's just a shortcut. And then the ML number search. There's two places where you could put in the number of a listing. Up here at the top right, you can put one ML number here. Okay, and if you have more than one, you would go in here and you can just type them in with a comma in between them. Okay, but I'm going to talk about new search here. I'm going to go to this one right here, new search, and we're going to do unavailable this time. I want to do sold in the last 6 months. All right, so I want to just do the unavailables. I'm leaving available out, so I had to deselect that. So I'm going to continue. And let's go to, well, it's right here in front of me. Let's go to Albertson. Okay, now there's 220 unavailable in Albertson, but that's going to include not only sold in the last 6 months, but sold in the last 3 years, expired, withdrawn, taken off the market, released. Any of those things are going to show up in that 220. So what I need to do is come down to the bottom of this form and put in a title date. Whoops, title date right here. I was just trying to highlight this one. There we go. Title date. So this will allow us to look at just sold in the last 6 months, because the only ones that have sold are the ones with the title dates. So I'm going to go back. I could do it this way, or I could type in that I want to go back to January 1, or I could do T minus 180. It will just do it for me. It will say, it will take today's date and subtract 180 days, which is 6 months. All right, so I'm asking for everything that's sold in the last 180 days, but my count didn't change, did it? Let me just take that out and see, did I do something wrong there? Yeah, oh no, it's right. It was 220. For some reason, I thought it was 20. So T minus 180, 20 properties in Albertson have sold in the last 6 months. Now, if you had other specific criteria, like you wanted to put a style, you would do that here. And one thing I want to point out, and I'm going to zoom in while I do it, do not check this little box here to activate the word not. People just love check boxes. And when you do that, if you say you wanted Cape, you just said not Cape when you check that box. This means I want Cape. This means I don't want Cape. Got it? So when I asked for Cape, there were only 5 that sold. Watch what happens when I do not Cape. The number changes to 15. You see that? So don't use those boxes. You're going to rarely use them. The boxes that you will use are things like this for wood floors, central air. Let's see if any of them have wood floors. 3 of them had wood floors. So we're going to go ahead and submit this. I'm going to come back out just a little bit. And notice in your action bar up here at the top, you can save the search. You can do a lot of different things up here, but I'm just going to hit submit, which you can do at the bottom or on the right, either one, same thing. And here's those 3 listings that have sold. They sold June 14th, March 8th, and April 12th. Okay. Now I want to see a little more info about these. So what I want to do is either click on the first one to see all 3, or I can click on this view icon. It does the exact same thing. It opens the first one. In the report, we call the broker full. Do you see the form here? Broker full. This is the one that you need to see that has every single detail about this house, okay? Even details that you don't want a seller to see, for example. So you don't want the seller to see any of the commission split information, right? The owner's name, the purchaser's name, things like that, where they move. That's just for agent eyes only. This is for agent eyes agent's eyes only. So this is not a report you would give to a seller or a buyer. But you will use this report to get all the info. But if you wanted to share this, and you can look through the photos, which is nice. And you have these wonderful links at the top to all kinds of details about the house, right? And the other reports, there's so many, and I want to just point out some of my favorites. I do like Broker Thumbnail. This way I could see all three of them, kind of in a short little one-page thing. I do like the comparison, which puts them side by side. Okay, this is kind of like what you'd be doing if you started a CMA, right? You'd be listing them side by side. This is called the comparison. I like the flyers too. If it's not appropriate to do a flyer for a sold listing, but I'm just going to show it to you anyways. Flyer 2 is probably my favorite one, because it gives you the front photo and then a bunch of other pictures, and it'll have your picture and company logo at the bottom. I work for MLS, that's why MLS shows up for me. Okay, so that was flyer 2, and especially with solds, the photo gallery shows every picture, which really is important when you're doing CMAs, to see the interior photos, correct? All righty. And if we were doing a CMA from here, and we wanted to start holding on to listings that we thought would be good comps, you could just create a cart for it. We'll throw them in. Let's say this is our CMA Albertson. Okay. And so I'm going to select that one, and I'm going to add it to the cart. So then when I go and do my CMA, I've already got a couple of things going there in that listing cart. Let me go back to the I think I've shown you everything here. You check these out when you're ready. I'm going to go back to the broker full. Now, to go through all of them in this view, these views here, use these arrows, right? You have your star, you have your cart, you have your checkbox, you've got all these options here. So pay attention to those, as well as these up here at the top. One of the ones I want to point out to you is history. If you really want to know what happened with this listing, for example, it shows no price changes, but there might have been other changes that you kind of don't notice here. But if you go to history, this one sold pretty quickly, so there's probably not a long history for this. This is how the listing looked exactly when the agent put it on Stratus. And then further down is all the changes that that agent made. They updated the property description, then it went into contract, and then finally we got the sold report on June 14th. Okay, so history is really important for you, especially if you're going to show a property or use it in a CMA. Make sure you check that out. All righty, let's return to the list view. And I think we've covered just about everything I wanted to there. I want to show you how to search on the map here. So I'm going to go back to that main search menu, and this time I'm actually going to start with a map search. So many agents do not take advantage of this. I really hope that you'll give it a try. It can really be just so helpful when you need a particular area or when you're doing your CMAs. So I'm going to leave this at map search. I'm going to do available and unavailable, and I'm going to just continue. These are all my saved maps and shapes and things like that, okay? I'm going to click continue. Now your map is always going to open near your office, where your office is located. Now you could change that. If you don't want it to open near your office, you don't have to. So it can be changed. This locations push pin will allow you to change that, okay? And you can set a new view as your default. But if you're doing a CMA and you have the address of the subject property, that's really where you want to start, is right where that house is located. So I'm going to go to locations for that as well. And I'm going to type in a Levittown property. I'm going to do 60 Shelter Lane, Levittown, New York, 11756. Important to do the New York. There's Levittowns and other places, and the zip just really helps to find it. Okay, So I'm going to click on find. You can put any address in here. This house is not for sale. It's just going to pick it up because it uses the same mapping tools that Google Maps uses. It knows where every address in the world is. So click on find, and it puts a push pin right there on top of 60 Shelter Lane. Okay? The closer you get, the more chance that you'll see these colored icons here. Okay? When I was too far out, watch what happens when I go out quite a bit. They all disappear because it's too many. It's more than 200, which I think is your maximum. So if you're in a view like this and you're just like, where are all the houses? It's just that you have to put some other criteria in there or get closer, okay? So my usual method is to get closer, give it a second to load them. Oops, still too far. And then it will load all the different colored icons. I like to usually move this thing out of my way, and then I can see the map a little bit better. You can see what the different colors mean by clicking on this legend over here on the left. The blues are the solds, red is available. We did available, unavailable, expired, rented, right? You'll get used to that. There's a lot under contract you can see in this neighborhood. It must be a super hot market, and very few expireds. Expireds are the purple ones. And when the market's super hot, you're not going to see too many expireds. That was probably overpriced a bit, right? So you can kind of tell. So as I hover my mouse over each one of these circles, I see a few details. I can put it in my favorites. I can put it in a cart, all those kinds of things. But the one thing I wanted to show you is how you can draw on this map. I'm going to use these drawing tools over here on the top right corner. The first one I'm going to do is a radius. So I'm going to activate that circle there. And I'm just coming over as close as I can, but not on top of that push pin. It won't work if you click on top. I'm going to click right near it, hold my mouse down, and pull my mouse until I see, let's say we'll do a half mile. There it is, half. It's a little bit hidden, but that looks like about a half a mile. When I let go of my mouse, it's going to get rid of everything that's more than a half mile from that spot. Okay? If you don't like the shape you ended up with, you have two options. You can use the pencil, click on the shape, and edit it that way. Okay? Or you can just put it in the trash can and start all over again. Okay? The box works the same way. It can be a square or a rectangle. You click and drag. It can be a square, it can be a rectangle, it can be a really skinny rectangle. Got it? Same thing for editing here. Click the pencil, click the shape, and then grab your little purple corners to make it larger or smaller. You can even move it with the middle one. I can move it all the way down here. All right, again, I'm going to put that in the trash can, and you can do multiple shapes. So I could have a circle over here and a circle over here and a circle over here. You could do even a square and a circle, right? So you can do a lot with these different shapes. Looks like it's still searching down here in the bottom for this last box. I must have really made it mad. So unfortunately though, if you want to get rid of one of these circles, you have to click on the trash can and they all go in the trash can. Although I've never tried this, and I'm going to try it right now with you. With this one highlighted, I wonder if I do trash. Now, same thing, they all go in the trash. Okay, so this is such a handy tool. Oh, the last one I wanted to show you was the polygon. So the polygon allows me to get really, really detailed about exactly which streets I want to include, right? So we know, if we know the houses are much higher, higher in price on a particular side, new development, something like that, you would want to eliminate those, right? So this allows me to really, really configure a shape. And the thing that's most handy is the save shape. So I can call this Susan Levittown. Let's say I'm doing her CMA, right? Click on save. And that will always be available to me both here, but also under my main search menu. If I go to map and I go down my list, did I call it Susan? Yeah, here we go. Susan Levittown. I highlight it and I just click continue and that will come back up. So as I'm working with Susan, although I forgot to ask for unavailable, that's just the availables right now. So I probably do that about 14 times a week, make that mistake. So you would just start again back at your main search page. I use the breadcrumb trail. I would do available and oops, I'm going to do the map, available, unavailable. We're going to go to Susan. So no worries if you make a mistake. You can quickly, once you get really good at this, you can just quickly get back to where you need to be. On this side, you have a panel where you can put in some criteria, right? There's not a lot, but if you know that Susan's house is probably going to sell for maybe a maximum of 400, maybe even 375. You can put that max there for the list price, and just that way you're looking at houses in the rough price range that hers is going to be in. Okay, I'm going to check for questions right now and see if anybody has any. Go ahead and type them in if you do. If you came in, some of you jumped in late, I'm recording this, so if you missed the beginning, you'll be able to watch the whole thing. And also I have some other webinars that I've done. They're not even old, last month. That's all going to be in this yellow light bulb here at the top right of your Stratus pages. Every page, you're going to have this yellow light bulb that says support. When you click on that, it brings you to our support center that myself and all the other trainers at MLS have put together for you to help you learn how to use Stratus. So, for example, the webinar you're on today will be recorded and posted here under webinars. Once it's completed, you'll see it here under recorded. This is the one that I did in June, and I did some add edit. There was another one I did that did a little more CMA. This one I did in May. If you feel like you didn't get enough CMA on this one, there's the one for that one covered a little more on CMA. But the collab ones also, I want you to take a look at. So, sorry, I didn't finish showing you and if you go to the training guides, we've got a lot of video tutorials on how to use different aspects, CMA, how to find the comps, the basic elements, all of that. It's all in here. Okay, so hopefully that will help you. We do have a question. So how do you search? Oh, excellent question, Liluti, if I'm saying your name correctly. How do you search by address, she's asking. I'm so glad you asked that because I forgot to show you. So let's get back to Stratus. And we're going to do our address search two different ways. I'm going to show you how to do it under new search, and then again, we'll show you how to do it on map search, all right? So if you're in new search and you want to search for all the houses on a particular, on a particular street, you would put in a town or a zip code or a zone or a county, right? So let's say, let's do that Levittown. We'll see what's on that street. Levittown. Now, if you put your town in here, you do not need to put zip code. Don't do it. It's just too much work. It's way too much work. If you want a zip code, don't put a town in. Zones are our MLS is broken up into 17 zones. 99 is out of area. Anything that's not on Long Island, Queens, Brooklyn, those are going to be under 99. And if you don't know what your zone is, the first 5 are Nassau County. The teens are all Queens and Brooklyn, and the 20s and 30s are Suffolk County. All right. Now I never want to look at my count here. So I'm looking for available residential in Levittown, and I've got 153 so far. Watch what happens when I say Nassau County. You see that? It overrides whatever you put here, and you get all of Nassau. So don't do that unless you need the entire county, which is pretty rare. B is Brooklyn, N is Nassau, O is other, Q is Queens, and S is Suffolk. So I'm going to just click on the blank one up there, and I'm back to my normal. Now, if the street I want is Shelter Lane, maybe I want to see if there's anything for sale on Shelter. I don't see anything, but I can put in several street names if I want. Oh, I'm sorry, I put that in the wrong place. Sorry, that was street number. Okay, the heat is getting to my brain. What I want to put Shelter, oops, is right here in the street name. Okay, so once I do that, I see there's 3 properties on Shelter for sale. If you had a particular house number, you would put that here. I can put other street names by clicking or here. So maybe I want to see if there's anything on Barnyard. Now I'm up to 6. Let's look at Center Lane also. This works great in public records. If you use public records, you can do these street searches and you can send a mailing to everybody on those streets. I think maybe I'm going to show you that because I don't usually do that in this particular session. Okay, great. Let me show you how I would search that in public records. So when you're searching under this search, this main search menu, it's just going to look at MLS listings, right? But we also have a database of public records of every property in Brooklyn, Queens, Nassau, and Suffolk counties. And every property, I mean every piece of land, every commercial building, every condo, every co-op building, only the building, not the individual units, every house, every 2-family house, those are all going to be in public records. Okay, so when you're looking for public records, it's separate from our listings. Unfortunate, because now you know when you go to places like Zillow and RPR and your other tools, realtor.com, those are combined. The listings and public records are all combined in one place, but your Stratus system doesn't do that. All right, so I'm going to click on public records. I'm going to look for those same few streets. Let's say we're going to do a mailing to those 3 streets in Nassau County. Pick your county, click continue. Now, when you're searching in public records, I recommend don't use town, use zip code only. Especially those of you in Queens and Brooklyn, don't use town names. So I'm going to use 11756. So there's 13,000 property records for Levittown, which is 11756. And I'm going to look for all the owners that are on 3 different streets. So I'm going to do Shelter Lane, but I don't put Lane here. That doesn't belong as part of the street name. It's over here and I don't need it, right? I'm going to click or, and now I'm going to put the second street name. This gets a little jumbled, so you have to really focus. I finally had to get computer glasses because I just couldn't see with either of my other glasses. Okay, and then I'm going to do or one more time. Just stay away from this unit number box. Let's do Barnyard. So this is looking for every property on those 3 streets, right? It's 280, and maybe I want to send them a postcard. So I'm going to go ahead and submit that search, but I might want to say just residential that I want. So property class in Nassau County, 210s are single family. Maybe Nassau isn't using that these days. Maybe they use something different. That's interesting. Well, you'd have to play around with probably these property descriptions here. If I do residential here, oh, we could look for racetracks if we want. Let's see what happens if we do residential. No, NASA must not be using that either. So I'm going to leave it. There's not a lot of commercial properties in that neighborhood anyways, but you can search for lots of different things here. You can also search for any properties that have a lien on them. Let's see how many of these 280 on those 3 streets have a lien. So I'm going to say yes, but I really want to see recent liens. So I'm going to go back maybe to January 1 and see. No, nothing showing, but that could be just that the records haven't been updated yet. All right, so if I want to send, I still left it at yes. So I'm going to take the yes off. back to my 280, and I'm going to submit this at the bottom. And I want to send these people a postcard. So what I'm going to do from this view is I'm going to go to print, and I have instructions for this, a video on how to do this in the support center that I just showed you. There's a video on how to do what I'm doing right now. So no worries if you can't remember. Nobody can remember this. So I'm going to click on print, and I want to switch from list rows to detail views, and that allows me then to choose a form called label. All right, so I'm going to send to, it depends on whether you want to send it to the property address or the mailing address. The mailing address would ensure that all owners get it. Property address might be just a, this way any renters would get it as well. Maybe you're just introducing yourself. And let's take a print preview and see how that looks. So you just throw your labels in the printer and print away, and it's just going to show the first name on the deed on that envelope. Okay, again, I have this all recorded for you, and there's also a recording on how to do what I just did there. So I'm going to look for questions now. We've covered so much, and it's 11:01. Last questions here. Maribel is asking how to change or move the search menu on the top. Oh yes, we showed that, Maribel, but just to review, use the toggle switch here to move your menu. Just that little gray circle flips it back and forth. Okay, so any other questions, just go ahead and type them in. While we're doing that, I'm going to give you some information on how to get help. I'm going to put in the chat the phone number for MLS customer service, which is 631-661-4800, and you're going to dial extension 1. I'll send you that now. Look in your chat box. And I'm also going to send you their email address, which is customerservice@mlsli.com. Send. You're going to see some changes coming soon. In the next few months, our MLS will officially be merging with the MLS in Hudson Gateway Association of Realtors. So that includes Westchester County, Putnam, Orange. Oh, I'm so bad at all 5 counties, but a whole bunch up there. We're all going to be one. You're going to be able to search listings up there. They're going to be able to search listings down here. Since you're licensed in New York, you can list and sell anywhere in New York. So it's really going to be a fabulous change, maybe a little bumps along the road, but you will still continue to use this program, Stratus. Okay, so if other agents tell you, oh my God, you're going to have to learn a new system, that's not true. Okay, you'll use this system for at least a couple more years because we have a contract with Stratus. So no worries about that. Also, in your handouts, I attached the last status change and listing abbreviations. You can click and open that one. If you look at your handouts section of the GoToWebinar panel, it's over here on the right side. And also our summer catalog, the computer classes coming up, I attached that. The easiest way to see what classes we have coming up is to go back to LI Realtor, go to Education and Classroom CE. And I generally just, if you just want Stratus alone, you could just type Stratus and hit enter, and it will just filter out anything with the word Stratus in it. So let's see what we have. There's a Learn Stratus in Riverhead tomorrow. That's a full day, 7.5-hour CE class. Oh, this is such a great class tomorrow. This may be sold out. Let me take a peek. Nope, it still has seats available, this one in West Babylon tomorrow. So when it comes time for you to take your CE, my recommendation is to take one general ed course that has all your requirements. That would be your agency, fair housing, and ethics, and then 2 computer classes. So because I'm a computer trainer, that's what I'm going to recommend. We also have this free demo. We have one coming up on, is that Thursday, July 11th in Jackson Heights, and also on July 11th in Woodbury. That's free. You can bring your laptop and follow along, and they do have more time. They have 3 hours to cover some of the things that I can't do in 1 hour. So you may want to get yourself over. You can come as many times as you want. Here's one in Babylon, July 18th. We have fantastic instructors for those free classes. So lots of Stratus coming up between now and September. If I take the filter out and I just look for the technology courses, you're going to see Stratus and Tech. You're going to see the Collaborate, which I mentioned. Collaborate classes. Let me just show you how to try Collaborate. I'm going to go back over to Stratus, Info Center, because I did mention it. Under your MLS LIBOR links here is the Collaborate program. It's a part of Stratus, but it's your mobile part of Stratus. This does not work well on mobile devices. Very frustrating. Don't even try it. You'll cry. But if you click on Collab, it will fit on a mobile screen. So you want to go to the App Store on your mobile devices and search for, let me put that in the chat as well. You're going to search for Stratus Collab. No matter what kind of phone you have, search for Stratus Collab in your App Store or your Play Store and download that app, log in with your Stratus ID and password, and this is a great way for you to use Stratus on your mobile devices. You can put your clients in here. You can send them text messages of new listings. I wish I had more time for that, but I do have some collab sessions coming up, so I hope you'll sign up for those. I think you saw all of my webinars coming up, probably how you found this one. We have a whole bunch. The next one is going to be Collab on Wednesday, July 17th, and then I have another one on August 28th. So poke around when you have time. I know it can be hard. So I'm going to log off and let you go, all right? If you have questions, you can email me when you get the email from GoToWebinar afterwards this. I will see those replies and I can answer specifically your questions. If it's something I already covered, I don't want to cover it now. And also, the recording will be posted here in the support center, I would say sometime. Hopefully I can get it up sometime by the end of the day tomorrow in this webinar section. All right, so I hope everybody has a terrific day. Thanks for joining me. It really was great to teach you, and we look forward to seeing you again. And we wish you all the best in your new career. Bye, everyone.